to another episode of Stogie from the Road, South Dakota. Well, here we are again, folks. One of my favorite spots out here on I-90 in South Dakota. It's a scenic overlook. It's beautiful out here. It's peaceful. Spring is coming on. You can hear the birds. It's a beautiful day. Just left the rain behind us. You can see right here, little rain clouds. Once again, a huge break from doing the videos. As you can see, we just came back from the Mid-American Truck Show over there in Louisville. Met some great people, saw some beautiful trucks, had a great time, and looking forward to doing it again at the next truck show. The reason for this video is I've been telling people lately that this YouTube and this TikTok thing is kind of escalated a little bit. I didn't really know it until we went to the truck show and had quite a few people come up to Bonnie and I and introduce themselves and said they were big fans of what we're doing. The reason for this video is I met a little boy. Little guy came out, and him and his mom came out to meet Bonnie and I, and it kind of reminded me, it reminded me of my kids, and he looked a lot like my youngest son. But the thing that hit the most was seeing his joy and excitement for one, meeting Bonnie, being a fan of what Bonnie and I do, and being a fan of big trucks, being a fan of truckers. And it was very humbling and very exciting. And it got me to thinking the other day when I was rolling through Nashville, and if you've driven through Nashville and you have your CB on, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You hear the fighting, and you hear the screaming, and you hear the hollering, and it's really disheartening. And I've found myself turning my CB either down or off lately, which I know I shouldn't, but I always say it makes for a hostile work environment, and it messes with your day a little bit. So I'm hearing all the cussing and fighting and things like that on the CB, and taking that in comparison to meeting this little guy and his admiration for what we do. And one thing I don't think that we think about enough in trucking, and us as truck drivers, is there's still people watching us. We're still heroes to a certain amount of people out there, the younger generation, the really young generation, the 10, 11, 12, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids out there that look at truckers and look at big trucks and they're fascinated by it. And then with that concept of feeling like we're being watched, it was an extraordinary gut check for me. Because I think, when we're cussing and fighting with each other, and we're on TikTok and going at it with one another and things like that, there's youngsters out there watching it. And I tell you what, if I would have seen it when I was little, I probably would have never thought about a truck again. So maybe if we could all just kind of grasp this concept of, there are people looking at us, whether it's the John and Jane public out there, and the four-wheelers, or the little kids that have dreams and aspirations of being truck drivers. Let's bring back that sense of accountability. Let's bring back that sense of pride in what we do. Let's bring back that sense of going, let's not let anybody down. Let's be good to one another. It goes all the way down to the thing I talk about all the time in truck stops. If you go into truck stops, you see everybody's all spread out. Nobody's talking to one another. Me coming up, when I used to go to the Wapakoneta truck stop in Wapakoneta, Ohio, I'd come in there and I'd see a table full of truckers all sitting around with their shiny boots and their shiny belt buckles, and they're laughing and they're hooting and hollering, and they're jawing with the waitresses, and it just looked like a big party. It looked like a good time. It looked like a big brotherhood. And that resonated with me. That made me want to be a part of that. It had me look at it and say, I want to be that someday. I want to be a part of that someday. And And it's so easy for us all to sit there and go, it's dead and gone, let it go. With that mindset, that makes that an absolute certainty. That solidifies that concept. That sets it in stone. That it's over with because we've given up. It takes little things like I did the other day when I asked that old timer to come sit with me in Montana, to sit down and talk to one another again. Guys, when you're in the truck stop, and this is just one example, when you're in the truck stop, sit with each other, make a friend, meet one another, develop a brotherhood. If you see a guy sitting by himself, say, hey bud, you want to sit with me? Want to shoot the shit? Want to pass some time? Learn a thing or two? Teach a thing or two? Why can't we do that? Why is that so hard? We'd much rather have our brotherhood via TikTok, scrolling and watching and not participating in life and not participating in the brotherhood of trucking. It was so cool at the Mid-America Truck Show on Friday night. I turned the CB on and I hung out in my truck, and it was the first time I listened to the truckers be friends again. I know it's hard, guys. This job wears on you. I know it takes a lot out of you. I know it feels like sometimes you're just a paycheck and an ATM for a life that you're no longer invited to anymore. But I say it all the time, if we don't do it, who will? So why don't we do it with the best of our ability? Why don't we embrace this with gusto? Why don't we fall in love with what we do again? Throw our shoulders back and put our heads a little higher again. Become truck drivers again. Because there's people watching us. And if we don't do it, then it's just like everything else. It fades away. It falls apart. You know, one of the things that I love about working for Taylor is that it is truly, and I'm not saying this because I work here, because I care about my reputation, my own personal reputation, and my own word more than any company I've ever worked for. With this place, we have an unwritten obligation of mentorship and brotherhood here. At Taylor Transport, we still preserve the heritage of running these big, beautiful stainless steel and chrome hoods and rolling up and down the road in style, with pride, with dignity. Our owner knows who we are and cares who we are. And that breeds into that brotherhood. And that breeds into that essence of what trucking used to be. That's where my loyalty comes from. Because here it's a beautiful ride. That allots me the ability to look at you and say, it's possible. It's possible after a few short years to be a part of a company like this. It's possible to be able to get behind the wheel of a truck that you're proud of and roll up and down the highway with dignity. And when you have that, there's this underlying sense of obligation for integrity and to give back and to help one another. That's why I push so hard for the preservation of the old truck stops, the preservation of the old brotherhood, the preservation of the old trucks and the pride in them. We're only here for a little while, and we can only do so much. And I do not and will not subscribe to being a part of this beautiful job, which sometimes is pretty hard, to sit and bathe in misery. To tear down your fellow man. Seeing your fellow man do well and to try to drag him down into the mud and the muck where you are psychologically, emotionally, and mentally. You know, I say all the time, Deion Sanders says, you look good, you feel good, you feel good, you do good. There's some truth to that. When I drove for Boyd Brothers, I was just a tool, a means to an end. Ran into the ground and I hated what I did. But I gave it one more shot. And Taylor gave me a chance. And I'm grateful for it. We're only here for a little while. 10 minutes ago, I watched my first child being born. Now she's getting ready to give birth to her second. I'm a grandfather. My kids are all grown and gone. And all I have, and not all I have, but what I have is a beautiful wife, a great dog, an extraordinary truck, an exemplary company to work for, and this big, beautiful country to drive around in. To take moments like this and take all this in, this big, beautiful painting that God created for us to look at. I know I got sidetracked, but if you all could just take a moment and really ask yourself, if you're here and you're all in, and you're part of what we do in this community as truck drivers, take a beat, take a breath, take it all in. Think about who are watching you. Think about what you're leaving behind. There's a saying that true success for a man is the world is a better place because you have lived. Screaming at your brothers and sisters out here that share this road with you, calling them every name that you could possibly muster. Is that true success? You want people to turn their CBs on, but when they turn it on, it's vile hate. It makes me sad. And I've had people over and over and over tell me to give it up. You haven't been driving along long enough. You don't have a right to speak. I never will. As long as I breathe, there is hope. And it comes across so dumb to people that don't understand. But I don't expect all of you to. I don't expect y'all to. But I'm not going to give up. Guys, I hope you're happy, healthy, loving, and living life. I'll try to check in with you more often. I love each and every one of you. And old Bonnie and I'll see you on the back haul. Giddy up.